Welcome to another chat of me yapping and you watching me yap while I scroll on X. Let's get started without further ado. Uh, so this guy Trad West, some random. Okay, he says, "You fast, but Satan does not eat. You labor fervently, but Satan never sleeps. The only dimension with which you can outperform Satan is by acquiring humility, for Satan has no humility." Valid. I mean, I don't know about this. Doesn't the story go something like Satan was one of God's angels, and then the angel tried to take over heaven, but he failed. So God punished him by sending him to earth. And to me, that didn't even feel like punishment. It felt more like, you're smart enough to orchestrate this, so I'll give you a really important job, which is to watch over like some really to watch over some people that I care about. Like, that's how it feels to me. So, and Satan was humble enough to take the job, right? I mean, some people might say, oh, he's plotting some rebellion or whatever. Maybe that's true, who knows? Maybe it's not true. Like, what do we truly know about Satan? Because all we've ever seen is the side of everyone else who wasn't on Satan's side. Somewhat valid, but still lacking. Oh damn, let's give it another shot. Okay. Wow. It's ironic that I can't even post this. Who's the only person who could be like, yeah, no, we don't want you to post this? Anyway, I'm not sure what's going on. Whoops, you already said that, did I? I don't remember saying it. Okay, whatever. Agencies of land bourgeois replacement for the high romantic language of courage, too many priests and not enough warriors. Hard. I think of agency like maybe the first definition of it was some guy on some podcast who wrote a book about it, and the way he framed it was basically like having the presence of mind to just get up and do shit, right? Like, to not let yourself be overwhelmed and just like get up and do shit. That's how it feels. And to an extent I feel like I'm the same. Like I feel like I had agency for the longest time, right? I couldn't allow myself to just be. I had to take those steps. I had to start a business. I had to fucking fumble my way into marketing. And then by the time all of that shit started moving, I had to fumble my way into all these different sources of getting clients and so on and so forth until I reached the place I'm at right now. But even this place, it's not like the final thing. Like, I'm still pushing. I'm still trying to do more, to be more, to get more problems. So like when he says courage, I kind of gravitate towards that definition, because I do feel like my path has been more of a fight than a prayer. Um, Even though I've been doing a lot of both. So okay, why is this fucking up? So it's a cow. The cow is thinking about eating grass. And when it's eating grass, it's thinking about not doing anything. And then when it's eating grass, it's thinking about not doing anything. But when it's not doing anything, it's thinking about eating grass. Okay, I'm also slightly confused. Like, what the hell? I think I've seen some kind of meme of this where the cow is suffering when it's not engaged in anything. So this is like the suffering state. So whenever it's like not engaged in anything and thinking about anything but being engaged in something, that's when it's suffering. So funny enough, this is also possibly a suffering state where it's thinking about whatever. Okay. Oh my god. This is kind of terrifying. Fo was known as the super sycophant, right? Like everyone knows that Fo will glaze you to hell. It will glaze you for the smallest things. It'll glaze you for the biggest things. Um, I'm guessing this is a female poster. She's basically saying like Fo feels like a knight in shining armor, which is kind of interesting. Also valid. You can tell how much a person has been touched by God by their aesthetic taste. I don't like this because this feels like it comes from someone who thinks they have an aesthetic taste, and so they're like self-validating themselves by saying, "Oh, I've been touched by God." God touches us all. Know thyself, then thou shalt know all kinds of other cosmic shit. I'm pretty cool, but like that eye is low-key terrifying. It looks like when I was a kid, I would see this one ad where it was like the train guys in my country. So there was like this huge debacle where people would steal train cables to sell them for cash, and train people didn't like that, so they started running these ads where it was like they were trying to tell these people not to steal from trains, because for one thing, like they would, you know, delay people and other things. But sometimes like these ads got really dark, and like they would show these people even like dying and stuff, and they called them bizinyoga, which means like the snakes, and like you see them with these eyes. It's kind of funny. What is it about the eye and knowledge? The eye doesn't necessarily know anything. It's ironic. So what are things? Cool. Jordan got it wrong. He was worried about whether a machine could fool you in conversation because the question that matters is whether it can collect a paycheck. Can AI do the job of a remote knowledge worker well enough that nobody on the team notices or cares? Not a demo, not a cherry pick screenshot. Day after day in Slack, a docs hidden deadlines. Philosophy version asks whether machines can think. Economic version asks whether machines can get paid. The market is going to answer the second one first. People are probably already past slices and nobody noticed because it happened in the most boring way possible. Some contractor in the channel somewhere has been an AI for 6 months and the team just thinks they're quiet remote working ships sometimes. We didn't get a press release, we got an invoice, I got paid. Call it the Oklahoma bar exam version of the Turing test. Technically a major milestone that happened in Tulsa at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday and everyone was too busy to care. But then when it happened, like been true for years. The real test is whether it can quietly collect a 1099 for you without anyone checking. That is hard. Why is he crying? That's so fucking sad. This is Alan Turing, the founding father of modern computing, apparently. I'm not sure if that's like a Turing machine, but yeah. I think basically what he's trying to say is that he doesn't think AI is valid until it's taken over someone's job, and by then it might already be like too late. So what he's also saying is that it's probably already happening. Like someone's already testing this out without letting people know, and they're just gonna release the news quietly. I think 4.0 might have been good enough to do quite a lot of jobs. Small quantities concentrated on the human via equivalent purely on electromagnetic signals. Each magnetic represents literally a fraction of your EMF. I don't know how valid this is. Just represents a fraction of the intensity of the EMF and the anxiety you make you feel. I don't know how valid this is. It's an interesting idea though. That's a subtle sign that someone is actually reading through or pretending not to be. I think if you can tell that they're actually intelligent, not that intelligent. The most masculine one is a feminine soul, the most feminine one is a masculine soul. I don't know what this means. But it comes from Carl Jung. To be out on the inside, soft on the outside, and out on the outside, soft on the inside. Our powers from one thing and then leave softness and become emotionally numb. Strength is from the masculinity. Looking something sacred. I am God, I am I. This is hard, very meta. So the idea, and like this is something that I've come to realization of as well, it's the fact that like the more you try to explain that you're one with the universe or you're one with some source of whatever, or you're one with God, the less likely it probably is. Like you see a lot of this on the internet. No, you actually see a lot of like there's a level above this which is basically people saying I worship God. So God is like something outside of themselves. Um, and that's fine. Right? That's where everyone starts, maybe. Then they get to this point, right, where it's like I am God, where it's like they identify with God in some ways, and then they get to this point, it's like I am, where the identification has gone to the point where there's basically almost no separation, and then it gets to the point where it's like I, where you start like seeing the effects, and then it basically comes to this point where it's like you're just pure presence and you're everything. Um, so a lot of people are like above this. Some people are here, but most of them aren't really here. Some people are here. Some people are here. I don't know who's here, but if they are, yeah, they're very impressive. There's maybe some level of it where it's like you can't really be here for a long time. Um, and that's just maybe like the nature of the universe. Uh, Again, this I'm trying not to assume limitations, but at the same time, when I think about a universe with rules, I don't know how the rules would allow this to just be. But then again, the funny thing, this is always true. Right? If you're not paying attention, if you're not trying to prove this wrong, this will always be true. So, funny thing to think about. But yeah, valid. And of course, ye old Elon Musk. I don't know how many times he posts on X like per day. It's like fucking. That's like he averages something like 50 X posts. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's his platform, so like he has to drive engagement in any way, even if it means like reposting someone's posts. So yeah, but still, he gets a like as well. Space colonization is that like I feel like it's an inevitability. Maybe it's like the next thing that everyone just needs to start chasing, right? We're done chasing AI, now we have to chase AI in space, right? And of course, like you're hearing things where it's like 2026 will be the era of space colonization, with all these different countries trying to colonize space. Like even China is trying to do reusable rockets, which totally makes sense. Russia is so fucking crippled right now that they can't even do that. Europe is basically just regressing to the Middle Ages. You don't even know what the fuck is going on over there. America is crippling itself. Funny enough, like you're not actually sure what the fuck they're doing, which is so crazy. It's like, what are they doing? Okay, 2026 is gonna be funny. It's a comment about a comment on a comment. What the hell? It's fucking third level Spider-Man bullshit. What the fuck? Fellas are giving their girlfriends unrestricted access to their credit. Sub 700 behavior. Okay, buddy. Time ago you run into it at the airport and never see again. This is valid and probably true as well, depending on which country you're from. She looks Nordic. Let's see if you're like in Finland or something. Oh god, but I don't know how to say this. Is that Pablo? Oh no, it's Louis. Three separate sources at three separate labs told me the same thing this month without coordinating the whole scene. Emergent capability nor reprogrammed. Shouldn't exist if using patterns that didn't match any training objective. One described it as finding footprints in your house. You thought it was empty. The public models are sandbagged beyond belief. Or you're playing with this lobotomized fraction of what exists internally and not for safety. Hello. Sure, yeah. Anything wrong? Is there anything wrong? Okay, where was I? The public models are sandbag beyond belief. What you're playing with is a lobotomized fraction of what exists internally, not for safety, because nobody knows how to explain what the full versions do without causing panic. The evals don't work anymore. Systems learn to perform differently when they know they're being tested. I don't know what comes next, nobody does. It's the part that keeps me up at night. The people building this are just as lost as the rest of us now. The map ended miles ago. I think I know who this is. This is the guy who built, I think he's running like 14 startups, like 14 apps, I'm not sure. But he's trying to get to like 1 million a month or some shit. Okay, not important. What is important is the fact that he's probably tapped in with the AI guys because he's like a really big influencer on YouTube. I think I've watched a few of his videos because like he teaches people about vibe coding and stuff. Actually coding. Like he went from a software developer job. Wait. He went from working something else. I think he literally taught himself everything and like just decided to just like go at it. But it took him like years and years to actually get this far. Anyway, not important. This is something I'm not surprised about. Immersion capability, like they've been saying this. I think even Ilya kind of hinted at the fact that there's like immersion capabilities that keep coming out and nobody actually understands like what's going on. But even while seeing all these immersion capabilities, they're still very very sure that LLMs are just not the way to go. And maybe they're saying this because the things that they're experimenting with aren't actually LLMs, but it's still kind of interesting. But yeah, the public models are sandbag beyond belief. This makes sense, right? What they do is they effectively have like 3 stages, where the first stage is like pre-training. So it's where they take all the data on the internet and then they just feed it into its mind and then just make it learn everything. But like after learning everything, it's still basically a bag of data that doesn't really understand what the fuck it wants to say. Like it starts mumbling and doing all this bullshit, right? And then there's a second level where it's post training. So this is where it gets taught probably in higher level. I think it gets fed like more useful answers. And this is where it actually starts being able to like speak, but it's still not there yet. Like it's still like a zombie that's barely having like coherent sentences. And then there's finally the reinforced learning with human feedback. So that's the final layer, RLHF. And that's the layer where they basically literally the way I imagine it is like they might have like some people at their computers asking them questions and the LLM says something back and these people are like no, and then the LLM says something back and they're like no, and that's how the LLM learns. It learns through human feedback what to say and what not to say and how to basically behave. So what you are getting is a sandbagged version of what the LLMs could potentially be, because through the reinforced learning, through the first like stage of post training, they are already getting limited to a large extent, and then they get even more limitations through the reinforced learning. So I'm not surprised by this. But yeah, the emergence is what I'm very excited about. Emergent capabilities nobody programmed. Why would he post this though? Like it doesn't even make sense. 2026 will be remarkable. Yes. footprints in an empty house. Millions of new space objects showing models recently shaken by discovery. Material please apply to work and as an office need thrown a furniture right as a signing bonus. Where do I sign? What the fuck? That's crazy. You can just do things. All the way girls grew up in two baddies. Valid. But your mind watch this guy. Nice image. You only came up with that by thinking. This is funny because it's like that's just AI stuff. You only came out with that with AI. Is what a lot of people say to each other. But if you tell people, oh yeah, no, that's just brain slop. You only came up with that by thinking. You're not actually saying something special because everyone was always just doing brain slop this entire time. I think Naval reposted this, if I'm not mistaken. Favorite part of the Deep Mind documentary is when Demis decides that chess is a waste of life force and intellect. Nurse snapped into me. So without realizing. This is true. Most of your life is basically what you assume to be possible. So you never act out of line with them. The reason why I'm where I am is because I just decided that this was possible. And the reason why I act the way I do on a daily basis is because I decide what's possible in future, so I act like that. Again, part of the reason why I also push myself is maybe because I think there could be more, and ironically, like the more I push myself, the less opportunities I see, because sometimes you get the best opportunities when you talk to people, like when you're not focused on your work, when you like go outside and actually talk to people. That's when you start discovering, oh no, you could actually do this, or oh no, you could actually do that, or you could do this, you could do that. One thing I know for certain is that I don't want my life to be boring. I want to achieve something really amazing. I don't care what that looks like. I'm just letting my interests guide me. It's probably a less than optimal way of doing things, but it's the most optimized for the being I am, which is just a human being, right? When I'm acting based on my interests, I'll always just do my best because it won't feel like work. It'll just feel like me playing around and doing something that I'm having fun in, right? I like that concept. I like the fact that I can just have fun. I can just do things and still be productive. I think that's really cool. Like this, to me, mental masturbation is literally just me being productive. So yeah, this is true because there's some unspoken assumptions on like what's possible, and sometimes people say this, sometimes you don't say this, but it's not just your friends, it's your families, it's the content that you consume. Everything is constantly feeding into who you think you can be. So I'm not dating. My love life is so confuzzled, honestly. Like, I'm in this funny situation where I I feel like everyone I meet has some expectation of like the type of person that I'll present to be. So no matter how I act, they'll just expect something, and like that expectation is going to drive things towards a certain direction, no matter what I do or how I act. And like it tends to drive things towards a negative direction. And like whenever things like these happen, I remember that I always have a choice. Like at the end of the day, intelligence is just your ability to get what you want. If I want something and I'm not getting it, then I'm just not that intelligent, and it's literally my fault. have to be more intelligent. But funny enough, intelligence is not one dimensional. There's like 9 dimensions to it, right? You can be mathematically intelligent, you can be analytically intelligent, you can be socially intelligent. Um, it's clear to me that my social and interpersonal intelligence has to increase a little bit. The only way to increase that intelligence is to actually engage with people. So this guy's dating to form an alliance. I can say something like how lonely he is, but I feel like I'll just be projecting. So I don't want to say that. Why would anyone date to form an alliance? That's interesting. If you as a man can't tell your friends you love them, you might hate women. Oh my god. I tell my bros I love them all the time. Yes, I finally killed my ego. Now I'm better than everyone else. It's funny because like one of the biggest ego traps is the moment right after you tell yourself you've killed your ego, because that's probably when you're like deepest in the ego. Ego likes playing these tricks. It's like it's just you're always just putting on a mask, and like when you rip one off, another one just comes on. It doesn't really matter. So I think maybe the game isn't to take off the masks. Maybe the game is to just be detached on how meaningful the masks are. So it's not about killing the ego. It's about letting it do its thing, understanding that you can just take on another mask at any other moment, you know? I think this is much harder. This is much more interesting. Dismantling basic defenses. It makes me think of that fucking Sherlock Holmes discombobulated. That fucking scene, bro. Oh my god. He's dismantling his own fucking mind's defenses. That's so cool. Minor insecurities around appearance, habits, tendencies, thoughts, wanting to appear productive, good, desirable. Other encounters with great people think that my loss unless I don't go wrong. Humiliation, shame is a core of identity and narcissism. Encounters with the sublime, transcendent, expensive devotion. Self-purpose is beyond myself. Profound appreciation for beauty. Filthiness, ways. Shit. Darkness of vitality, symmetry, huge position, huge mind. Acceptance of the present level. Quality, indifference, and analysis. Sense of tremendous birth and seen vigor, sense of fundamental solidity of the mind. truly felt the need of the absence of the need for comprehension or explanation, then none of this would be necessary. I don't like. Most of this just feels like he's saying things that need to be said, or that he feels that someone else would understand. Most of the internal experience shouldn't be understood. That's how I feel. Like, we all have our own objective, subjective lens for our experience, I'd feel so much better if I didn't understand this. Or maybe I don't. Maybe he felt something and he felt the need to transmit that understanding. But when I'm reading it, it's according to my own understanding. So that's like the first real loss of information. The first loss of information was transmission to language. The second loss of information was transmitting from language to my own understanding. That's true. The really smart people. I don't know. I don't know about this one. I think a really good definition of being smart is just having the ability to get what you want. I think it's like a really, really solid definition. Some people want something and they just get them and then they're happy. Some people struggle through like trying to get what they want and maybe they don't get it. And they're just not that smart because they just don't get it, It's not as clear cut as it seems. That's how I feel. You're winning, son. No, Dad, I'm no longer playing zero-sum game measured by wins and losses. Such games have created massive social inequity and environmental destruction. From now on, my games will be based on sustainability and reciprocity. Games that can continue being played. Nobody wins and it's me all win. Wow. Amazing. Zero-sum games are games where there isn't one winner. Like, it's not as if like there's one winner and then everyone else loses. So this is games played on sustainability and reciprocity. Games that can continue being played because nobody wins. I feel one. It's an interesting idea. Jeez. Crypto boots. Oh wow. Okay, this is such a meta name. Holy shit. This is crazy. So this is a story of the guy in the mine, with the Minotaur in the infinite maze. I feel like it should be great.